Good, better, best. What is it we could be talking about this evening? So look, let me make that the first question. So what are we talking about? Good, better, best marriages, or good, better, best relationships? Husbands, wives, or children, or what? Good, better, best what? Don?
Okay, very simply, tonight we're talking about wives. We're leaving out the marriages, the relationships, the husbands, and the children tonight. And we want to focus on the wives. So we're talking about good, better, best. How to be a good wife, to be more specific. How to be a good wife.
Okay. So do you think this is something that a lot of women would want to know? How to be a good wife?
That's interesting, Wayne, because perhaps one might not think so, because we might think that women feel they are good and they are okay and so on. But I did a little scouting around and I found out that every month more than 9,000 people around the globe search for suggestions on how to be a good wife. So it means there are a lot of people who want to know how to be a good wife. More than 9,000 every month. Why are people searching for this? It suggests to me that a very large number of women, number one, probably do not feel that they are good wives, and two, want to be better wives.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. There's evidence right there. If you've got thousands of monthly searches, and that's a great way to find out if there is an interest out there by checking those searches. So, Don, what answers are spouses looking for when they ask this question?
Yeah, I think it's a bit varied, but before we go into that, I want to make one thing clear. I think it's important for us to remind ourselves and to remind all these women who are searching, and if there are any here who are searching, let's remind ourselves that nobody's perfect. So if you're searching for how to be a good wife, but while you're searching in your mind, you're actually thinking and looking for how to be the perfect wife, then that's probably not attainable. I don't think there's going to be a wife who is so perfect that she never makes mistakes and that her husband never finds a fault with her and so on. So we're not looking for perfection here, but we're looking for somebody who is a good wife, who makes the home pleasant, and her family, her husband and children are well pleased with her. Let's remember that Romans chapter 3, verse 23 says, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And because of that, we know that nobody's perfect. But in reality, some days, ladies, because we're talking about the good wife now, in reality, some days you're going to be good. Some days you're going to be great. And some days you're going to fall short. You're just going to have those days when you're not such a good wife. And the thing to think about where that is concerned is that you don't kill yourself when you're not such a good wife. But overall, we want to see improvement as you move forward. So let's accept the fact that as humans, we are prone to make mistakes and to be less than perfect. So rather than focusing on how to be a good wife, suppose we address instead how to be your best self in your marriage, how to be your best self, whether as a wife or a husband, for that matter. So I want to look at 10 suggestions for helping us bring out our best self to our marriage and help us to be more intentional in caring for that better self. When some of us may be doing some of these already, and some maybe you never considered. So if we are able to look at a few small changes that you can focus on implementing in your marriage to help foster a deeper connection with your husband, over time, these will make a meaningful difference in the health of your relationship. They'll help you to be the best wife you can be. So, I said I'm going to offer about 10 of them. And remember, this is about helping you to be your best self, because that's all you can do, be your best self. So number one on the list is to pray regularly for your husband and with your husband. Pray regularly for and with your husband. And if your husband is not even showing an interest in prayer, you still pray for your husband, and you try to be as nice and kind as possible to encourage him to join you in prayer as much as possible. If you're not already doing it, try to begin incorporating this into your daily routine. Thank God for him and for his role in your family. I mean, genuinely thank God. Even if you're not praying with him, you should be thankful for who he is in your family. So thank God for that. Pray that he would be a man after God's heart. Additionally, you pray for him, pray on behalf of your family, your careers, your marriage, and for God to strengthen him and help him to be the husband he ought to be. So when you do this, you'll find that your attitude towards him becomes more intimate. You grow in spiritual intimacy with one another. So that's number one. Number two is to speak his love language. And many of us have heard about that. So, do you know each other's love languages? Sometimes it's amazing how many couples have issues because they don't understand each other's love language. So if you don't understand it, go find out together. Go and find out your love languages. It'll help you. Whether it's, and the different love languages are what I'm going to name now: acts of service, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, or words of affirmation. These are the 5 love languages. So learn what your love language is and what your husband's love language is. Learn to be fluent in loving your husband the way he best receives love, not the way you do. It's easy for us, and it is more often that we want to give love the way we like to receive it. But perhaps the way you're giving it is not received as love by your partner, because that's not the way your partner receives love. That's not his love language. So you've got to know your partner's love language. Especially if his love language is physical touch, take the initiative on being romantic at times. Sometimes you've got to do that. Give him a big kiss when he walks in the door and see where the romance leads you from there.
Hey, Don.
Yeah, Wayne.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think this is a very important point about the love languages, and you mentioned to find out each other's love languages. Is there somewhere we can go and do that?
As a matter of fact, there is, Wayne, and I'm glad you asked. And I'm going to just drop the link right in the chat right now, so anybody who wants to go there. And I want to encourage everybody to go find out your love language, but couples especially find out what's yours, and maybe you do it together with your partner. Let me just drop it in while I'm talking. Find out your love language and get to understand each other better. So there's a link in the chat. You can go there and take a little quiz, and you'll find out what's your love language.
Thank you very much. I like that. I'm looking forward to jumping on there myself.
Okay. All right. So number 3 is to show appreciation, and you may remember how many times this has come up in our meetings that we, and it shouldn't have to be said. I would think that if somebody is in love with somebody and you find this person to be a good partner, you shouldn't have to be told to show appreciation. But it's amazing how we take each other for granted. It's amazing how sometimes we just move along with life, and he's doing everything. I'm talking to you women now, so forgive me. He's doing everything good around the place, but you're just taking that for granted. And the minute he misses something, sometimes you flare up. Or for the many things that he does, you don't express appreciation. Sometimes the poor guy is going to feel like, I'm just drifting along through here. I'm not appreciated. So a simple thank you, just thank you, can go a long way. We may feel that you shouldn't have to say thanks because that's your husband and he's doing just what is his reasonable service to do. Sure, it's his reasonable service to be a good husband, to do all the things that husbands are supposed to do, but thank you goes a long way anyway. Show him that you notice when he does even the day-to-day things, but especially when he goes a little extra mile to do something extra for you. Certainly thank him expressively, not just the words thank you. Thank him for remembering to take out the trash. You know, just to empty that garbage, take it outside and dispose of it. Thank him for it. Thank him for helping you to take, if you have young children, sometimes, you know, as women, the burden of the child lies on you. And sometimes if you have a husband who will sometimes allow you to relax while they take care of the children's bedtime routine, whether it be bath, brush teeth, put on pajamas, tuck into bed, maybe read a bedtime story, give you a break. Thank him. Thank him for it. He feels appreciated. He feels that he is valued in the home. Be generous in complimenting him, especially in the areas of his strengths. You know, everybody has strengths in different areas. And so if he has certain strengths, for example, I love how you're always able to solve these problems around the house. The pipe picks up a leak and he can fix the leak. That's good. Appreciate it. Show gratitude for it. Tell him that you appreciate it. Not every man can do that, unfortunately. So if he can do it, give him the credit. If he can fix a leak in the roof or whatever it is he does around the home, or if he can even teach the kids a new skill. Can he teach your child to cut a board with a saw? How about playing the guitar or playing the keyboard or some skill? Appreciate it when he does it. Don't just take it for granted. It's not just his duty. It's his duty as a father, yes, but he feels so much better about it when you recognize it and express appreciation. Number 4 is to show interest in his interests. Now, it's not always easy if you're not interested in something to show an interest in it. But if you find that your husband is interested in some things you're not interested in, he's really interested in these things, and he spends a lot of time with it and so on. It's really nice for you to show a little interest in it. You might not understand the things, you might not understand what he's doing, his hobby, but don't let that stop you from asking him questions about it. Sometimes you don't understand, that's the reason to ask a question. Help him, you see, he gets an opportunity to teach you something, to tell you something you don't know. And he feels good about himself, you know. Oh, I can show my competence, I can show my knowledge, I can feel proud that I know this and she doesn't. So whatever it is that he has coming, even if you have no interest in it, even if you have no knowledge of the area, ask about it anyway. Ask him how he's feeling about his next presentation. Brother Wayne is going to do a sermon next Sabbath at church. Ask him about it. Show an interest. What are you going to be talking about? Have you got your message yet? Tell me a little about it. You know, just show that kind of interest. He feels good. And you see, it's somewhere for him to bounce his thoughts off. Now, much of what I'm saying applies to both the husband and the wife. But tonight we're just talking about wives. So when the cap fits you, you can put it on too. Number 5 Put your phone away. Turn towards your husband when he's sharing something with you, when he's talking to you. Again, as I said, the cat may fit both sides. But we're talking about the wife now. Put down the phone or put down the gadget or the device. Give him eye contact. He's talking to you. Give him eye contact. Listen to him, pay attention. Show him that he has your attention. Whether he's sharing a funny story or a corny story even, show some interest. You know, if he's telling you about his business trip today and you're not really interested, or if he's telling you about that lecture that he did, maybe you're not interested. But pay attention, listen attentively, and where you don't understand, ask questions. He'll appreciate that. Even if at the end of it you don't know anything more about it, what you have done is helped to build the relationship a little bit better. So pay attention. Pay attention to each other when you're talking. Then encourage individuality. It's nice for you to go do things together and so on, but sometimes it's important that people spend some time alone doing the things doing their things that may not necessarily be for both of you, and we don't feel challenged by that. We don't feel challenged. So ladies, if your husband has some times like that, give him that space. Let him be an individual when it's necessary, just like he should let you be an individual when it's necessary. Then number 7 is try to find a mutual hobby. The more things you do together, the more you bond together. So you may not always have the same hobbies, but is there one thing, hopefully more than one, that both of you can make a joint hobby? That would be really nice. You know, you start creating things together, you start doing things together, and you look forward to the time when you're going to get back into this activity, whatever it is. It's about balance. Just as you should make time for yourselves, make time for each other. Make your husband a priority and make him feel like he's your priority. Number 8, speak. Say something. Your husband cannot read your mind. This might come as a surprise to some of us. But ladies, your husband cannot read your mind. You may have a million thoughts going through your head at any given time. But if you don't talk, if you don't express them verbally so that he can hear it, he won't know what's on your mind. So effective communication is important. Communicate with him effectively. Let him know what's on your mind. If you're frustrated about something, even something he's doing, tell him. You try to be nice about it. You don't try to, hey, you're annoying me, you're bugging me. Yeah, he'll know that you're irritated, yes, but he won't feel good about your attitude. So tell him, but find a good way to do it. If you want his advice on something, ask him. He may not recognize that you need the advice until you say it. If you need something from him, let him know. Communicate, say something, talk. Number 9, respect him. Again, this shouldn't have to be said, but familiarity breeds contempt. You know that saying. Familiarity breeds contempt. When people live together long, the level of respect sometimes falls. You feel that because I'm so close to you, I can talk to you any old way, and it's okay. But you should respect your husband as the leader in your home and trust his judgment. Treat him as your partner, not as your child. This doesn't mean you can't step up to the plate and take the lead sometimes. There are times when a woman leads best in some things. And I believe there are some areas of a married life, togetherness, that a woman ought to take the lead. So that's not saying that you can't do anything and you can't take the lead. But you still have to acknowledge and recognize your husband as a leader of the house based on biblical guidance, and you communicate openly. Even if you think he's making mistakes, communicating openly about it helps to resolve those things. leverage each other's strengths. So he has certain strengths, you have other strengths. That's why when God made the woman, he made an help meet for Adam. He made somebody who was complementary to Adam. A woman is a complement to the man, and the man is a complement to the woman. We don't compete. Unfortunately, the world is in a mess. The world has women competing against men now and talking about women are equal to men and so on. We're not equal. We're complementary. And together, we ought to make one composite whole. So my strengths complement her strengths, and together we can conquer the world. Together we can overcome when we are complementary to each other. But because we keep on competing with each other, then the world conquers relationships. The world conquers marriages. The world conquers families because there's too much competition and not enough respect and complementary activity. Support each other and respect each other's lanes. Number 10, final one. And this kind of spills off from number 9. Be his biggest supporter. Be his biggest cheerleader. Remember, your husband ought to be your best friend. So be his biggest cheerleader. Make him feel like he is on top of the world as long as you are there. Let him know that no matter what he does and no matter where he goes, there's somebody who is supporting him full strength. Support his goals and dreams. And support in this doesn't mean necessarily that if he's doing foolishness, you must just go along. Talk with him, communicate, give guidance and the kind of support that a woman can give, and help him if you think he's doing foolishness. Help him to see. But at the same time, don't belittle him for what he's trying to do. You've got to have that respect. You've got to support him. You've got to cheer. I love that idea. It's a brilliant idea, I think. But what do you think if you could tweak this a little, or do you think this might impact it? You let him think about it, about the things that he may not have thought about. And by the time you're done, that idea is out the window and he's gone hunting for another one, right? That's how you support and that's how you respect. And that's how you're a good cheerleader. Make it your mission to be his number one fan in your family, his number one fan of his work, and his number one fan of his interests. You are the number one. I mean, I can tell you from a male perspective, if I know that a woman, my wife, is that supportive of me, I feel I can take on the world. And I know, so I can tell you ladies, this is making a man a leader. If he's running a race, whether literally or figuratively, will he know that he can look over and see you cheering for him obnoxiously from the sideline? You know, will he know that? You know, so these are the 10 things that I would recommend if you want to be a good wife. Take these ideas and run with them.
Very good. Thank you so much, Don. But so far, and you've mentioned a number of times, these things make a good wife. But I'm reminded that our topic is good, better, best. So although the good wife might sound a good title for a television program, not that I've seen such a thing, so I don't want to be recommending it or whatever, but it sounds like it, the good wife. But what about better and best? I think if men knew such a thing was available, they wouldn't want to stop at the good wife. They might want to know about better and best. So have you got something to tell us about those?
Well, yes, indeed. In reality, and especially in marriage relationships, change follows something called the marginal gains theory. which is also known as the power of tiny gains. By focusing on being 1% better every day, you will end up 37 times better by the end of the year, because small improvements compound. This is why small choices don't make much of a difference at the time. So you might think, okay, this is a tiny thing to do. All right, I'm going to do it. It's just a tiny thing, but you do that and you get 1% improvement today. And then you focus tomorrow at 1% improvement. So you are good. And as you do that, you become 37 times better by the end of the year. And add it up over the long term, you find that you're getting better and better. So just focus on those tiny improvements each and every day, and you will become better and better.
Very good. I know that must work, Don, because where I'm reminded is in the physical area. So if you just do that little bit every day, a bit of more exercise, a bit more training, working on the core if we're a bit loose around the tummy or whatever, a little bit every day, get that 1% improvement, and all of a sudden that tight, firm tummy comes to being. Just a matter of persevering and being consistent by the sounds of it.
Six pack, right?
Okay. Say again?
Six pack, right?
Six pack. I'm
Six
sure
pack.
there's a six pack somewhere there under the keg. Anyway, that's really great. So now let's hear about the best.
Okay, I see Clive raised a hand there, though. Did you want to take it first, or you wanted to?
Sure. Sorry, I didn't see your hand, Clive. I'm getting a little bit excited about this topic as Don's been sharing, but go ahead, Clive.
That's quite okay, Wayne. I can see that you're excited, especially as you talk about that six pack. But I hope it's not the wife you're hoping to see that six pack on. All right, I hope it's on yourself. But in relation to the good, better, best, and I'm not thinking about the physical in this regard, but just the general concept of being good, better, or best. I think back to something that Don said earlier, in that there's nobody perfect. And in that regard, I think what you will find is that in your wife, in your relationship, as a wife, or indeed as a husband, even though we're focusing on the wife, you will probably end up being all three at some various points in the relationship. And to realize that there will be good days, there will be better days, and there will be best days. The fact of the matter is to maintain that overall, that you don't end up being bad, but good, better, best at all times. That sometimes it's just a matter of the circumstance on a particular day. I know that if I have a good day today, okay, today was a good day, let's strive to be better. But it doesn't mean that you don't end up having another good day that was not as good as today. So in the same person, you will always have the possibility of being good, better, or best.
Well done. That's really nicely observed, and a nice contribution review to what we've covered so far. Thank you, Clive. You could have been choreographed to do that, actually. I know you weren't. It's okay. We didn't set Clive up, but wow, it was that good. Thank you very much. So, Don, let's hear about the best, which is our aim. Good, better, best. If we have a good day, that's good. If we have a better day, that's better. If we have a best day, well, that's the best.
All right. So we're talking about the wife still, and not the day, but the wife, the person. And for the best, I am going to read a section of the Bible that I think most of us know about, but I want us to look at it carefully. It's actually 18 verses of the Bible, Proverbs 31, verses 10 to 28. And I want to just go through this because this outlines some things that some people still have difficulty accepting, and I'm going to just talk about that when I finish reading the verses. Verse 10 says, "Who can find a virtuous woman, for her price is far above rubies." So the best, the value, the price of the best is far above these precious stones, rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. He doesn't need anybody else. He doesn't need to find anybody else, because he knows that he can trust this woman. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She's industrious. She knows how to do things to make, and I can think of some people as I'm talking about that right now, like my wife's mother, very industrious. She knew how to do things to keep things running at home. She's like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She knows that her family needs food, so wherever the food is available, she goes and she brings it. She rises also while it is yet night, and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She's not lazy. She's not idle. She gets up before day. Again, I refer to my wife's mother and my own mother. Sometimes, while we were all sleeping, she would be up because she knew that she had to get things ready so we could be off to school early enough. So she has to get up before daylight to start preparations to make sure we get breakfast before we go out. And my wife's mom did the same kind of thing. So some people think that this is kind of a fanciful thing, but it's a reality that some people are able to do at least some of these points. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. You see the industry of this person. She's doing different things to keep things running at home. She girds her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle does not go out by night. In other words, she doesn't allow anything to prevent her from pursuing her objectives. She lays her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretches out her hand to the poor. So she's not only thinking about her own family, but she reaches out to people who are poor. She's benevolent. You see, we're talking about the best wife, looking after her home, but she has enough goodness in her heart to be benevolent to people outside who are in need too. Yeah, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She's not afraid of the snow for her household. Well, we don't have to worry about that in Jamaica, right? For all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes sure that her family is well provided for, protected from the elements. She makes herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. She's not afraid to get expensive, valuable things for her family, because those are good protection for them. Those are good furnishings for the body. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. Why is he known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land? Because he feels confident, because his wife respects him and makes sure that he goes out there looking presentable. He doesn't go out there looking like somebody who is deficient of love and respect and affection at home. He goes out there as a respectable person, and so he can sit among the respectable people out there. She makes fine linen and sells it, and she delivers girdles unto the merchant, all about the industry. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. She's a wise woman. She doesn't go around talking foolishness. She doesn't gossip and blabber blabber with people around. So many wives, they spend too much time chatting with others, nonsensical things. This woman is wise, and in her tongue is a law of kindness. She's not caustic in the way she speaks to people. She speaks kindly to people so that people will love her. She looks well to the ways of her household and eateth not the bread of idleness. She's not an idle woman. As we said, she's industrious. Her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. This is the gold standard for a wife. This standard is so high that some scholars speculate that this woman of Proverbs 31 is not one woman, but is rather a conglomeration of admirable attributes of several different women. This is what great scholars are saying, because they're saying one woman couldn't match all of this. Still, other scholars say it's not talking about a woman at all. It is really the personification of wisdom. Well, many women look at the description and say that's impossible. There's no way any one of us can live up to that. And so they ignore it. And they don't even try to be like this woman. However, no matter what we think about this passage, whether it is an allegory, it's anecdotal, it is a conglomerate of several women, or it is talking about wisdom, whatever you want to think about it, this is what I would say. If there is ever a woman who fits this even to about 90% of what is described here, then I believe we could consider that woman to be the very best wife. So there goes the best way.
Wow. And I mean that sincerely, because one of the things, especially in this day in which we live around the internet and different things like that, is a word called content. And so we've been developing some good content with the recordings and the videos that people can go over to the Families for Life channel and have a look at. But the content that you've just shared there, Don, has got to be number one. And what was the source? Well, no surprise. Bible, Bible, basic instruction before leaving Earth. And so there's a description of the best wife. Not surprising. Very nice. Thank you. Okay. Now has come time for anybody who has a question or a comment or any feedback just now. Go ahead, Clive.
Thank you, Wayne. You know, as I listen to Don going through the various aspects of the 10 points of how to be a better wife, you know, I found it a little bit instructive that the majority of them, except for maybe one or so, would be this basically the same topics if you were to ask how to be a better husband. Because
Yes.
generally it is how to approach your relationships, right? And how to improve in your relationships as a person as you go along on a day-to-day basis. So I just found that a bit instructive.
Yes, very good. No, I was thinking once or twice through the presentation along the same lines. There's been no finger pointing, zero finger pointing. Absolutely. All constructive help, because surely one of the things about humanity is we all want to be that bit better. And there's no stopping in the improvement potential, no matter what age we are. And we see that, you know, the 103-year-old still reads. He or she is wanting to learn, and as long as we have the ability to learn, that's what we want. And so, as you said, very constructive content in our topic tonight. So thank you for that, Clive.